Morning, everybody. July 31st. Give a little check-in update. Corn and beans are looking phenomenal. It's rained all week. So, we're just out taking a little walk, surveying, to get some energy out of him.
So you just had three samples taken in?
Yeah, I did the 3 samples. I figured that was enough to get a borderline for what I'm looking for. So,
Yeah, that's fine.
So tell me what all this stuff means here, as if I don't know anything, which I pretty much don't on soil tests anyways, but I'll keep it real.
Well, so are we recording?
Yeah, we're recording.
Okay. So if you go to I'm going to look at mine because they're the same as far as they're the same laboratory.
Okay.
So this is the one that most farmers use.
All right.
So we'll go to the first page, and you've got your lab number that they just attached to whatever, and then you got the whatever you identified it under your sample identification. Then you start getting into, and let me trying to get back so I make sure I'm looking at, I have yours at the same time. So then you have your organic matter, and we'll just dissect it as we go. So like organic matter, so your first one is pretty good at 4.5% organic matter. Like a rule of thumb is for every percentage of organic matter, you can hold 1 inch of rain.
Okay.
And that equates to like 10 or 15,000 gallons of water that it'll hold. So, you look at yours, you've got a 4.5, you've got a 2.5, and they call that like a medium or middle of the road.
Okay.
And the 4s are highs. Mine are all right at like 3.5. I've only got one that's over 4, but that's good. That's good. That's way better than I had in Illinois by at least 1.5% on most of my ground that I had been working on for years. So we're definitely starting ahead of the curve.
Okay.
With the organic matter. Now the big thing is we're gonna, with this corn and bean rotation that we're doing, we need to keep up on organic matter, because when you're doing a normal crop rotation, like you're doing soybeans one year, corn the next, the corn residue leaves a lot of organic matter when we turn it in and it breaks down, whereas soybeans, the deer are eating the organic matter throughout the summer, and so we're losing that organic matter, and we're losing some of our minerals because we're basically mining it out of the ground and putting it up into the plant leaf, and then the deer are eating it. And yes, they are leaving some behind as they're walking around and they're defecating on the field, but for the most part, they're extracting that resource and taking it away. In a lot of instances, they're probably taking more away than what they're leaving. So we have to manage that organic matter through our crop residue. That's why I use winter wheat to help try to replace some of that when it comes springtime, and I turn that under. I make up for that a little bit.
Okay.
So that's kind of where we're at. So then now they're giving you a phosphorus reading, and I'm not really paying. I mean, phosphorus is important. Yours is low. So phosphorus is going to be very important to us within the soybean mixture, because it uses a lot of potassium and phosphorus, but mostly phosphorus is really important in the soybeans. Being a legume, it doesn't need a lot of nitrogen because it will make its own nitrogen after it gets started. So, in that potassium, we want to watch our potassium number, because that will help with our stalk density on our corn. The phosphorus is also a good yield booster. It'll help run up other stuff. I'm flipping back to yours. So our phosphorus, your potassium is low. Which is really, I'm looking at your rates, and I've also had one season of planting in mine, so they're just a little different.
All right, so is VH, does that mean very high, or what does that mean?
Very high. Yes, that's very high.
So
your magnesium and my magnesium are both very high in a lot of places, so I'm not sure if that's a product of the fescue, that it's not, so if they put it on, and this is why we do a soil test at a yearly rate, and we need to keep track of this. I can't find my soil analysis from last year, which really I wanted to look back, because we want to look at it every year as we plant these crops, so we know how much we're actually mining out. So if we're very high or we're very low, and we put in the recommended amount, and we don't change, then that means we need to probably up that rate until we get to a point that we're, medium, so that we're not draining it, going to medium and then draining it to low. We want to go from high when we fertilize in the spring back down to a medium the next year, so that we never run out of those nutrients as we're pulling them out. So we need to figure out what our crop is doing to our soil as the year goes on. What rate are we mining it out? Because potassium and phosphorus are immobile elements, meaning they bind to the soil and they kind of stay put for the most part. Whereas nitrogen will it never stays in you can't put nitrogen in your dirt and expect it to be there forever. So let's just say you put the nitrogen in and you're like, okay, I'm not going to plant this year. I'm going to go ahead and wait. But I put it in last year and I didn't have a crop, and it's not going to go. It either evaporates to the air or it washes down through the ecosystem. It goes down. It can wash on down. That's why you don't ever want to bury your nitrogen too deep, because by the time your plants try to reach to it with their roots, it might not even be there. So now we're not talking that it races out of there exponentially fast, but there is an element of the rain will eventually pull it down deeper into the soil. As long as we got roots in there, it's going to capture that. It's going to get uptaked into our plant, and it's going to get uptaked into our root structure, which then helps our organic matter. So your roots are like the short term on your organic matter, and then your crop residue that you're going to break down is long term on your organic matter and your minerals and stuff. So there's a lot of components to it.
All right, well, let's keep going then on the, I know the pH is a big deal, and just something interesting, like for our viewers, on mine anyways. So the interesting part is the first and the third of these are both hay fields, so those have much better numbers. That middle one, that B16 3 acre, that is a 3 acre brand new clearing that the bulldozers just made in October. So it's no surprise that the organic matter is way lower, as well as the phosphorus, or the first P1. And then potassium's also, well, actually potassium's right in the middle, but the sodium is of course way lower as well. But that's a brand new clearing in the woods, that middle one.
Right, and so that's a product of, that was a closed canopy forest for years, and there was the only thing going on the ground was leaf litter.
Right.
That was it, and you may have scraped off the top of that layer. So as they bulldozed out, so you might have lost a little bit in that respect, but it's mostly because it was a closed canopy forest, and it did not have the tonnage. That's why food plots are so much better than, everybody says, oh, I got to have the acorns. The deer love the acorns. That's great. But an acre of highly productive oaks will only make 400 pounds of mast in a year, whereas with even natural browse, if you just let that go to weed, I mean, absolutely just don't do anything. Let the weeds fill in. You'll still make 2,000 pounds of forage for the deer. So closed canopy is not. Yeah. It looks pretty, but it's not good for the deer habitat at all.
Yep. So that goes to the pH. So the pH is the lowest of the three in that 3 acre new opening. So where do we want to be, and where do we have to be, and where will work good enough?
Well, so where we're going to be is you want to be above 6 at a minimum. You want to be 6 or above. The closer to 7 you are, the better it is. If you go over 7, you're a little high, but all you have to do to lower that is throw some nitrogen, some synthetic, essentially, nitrogen into the mix, and it will lower it. And that's why we have to. So like on mine, I'm adding pelletized lime with even though my pHs are pretty good. My lowest pHs I have a 6.0 on one plot, that very back plot that was corn and soybeans with the little patch of clover in it. But everything else is 6.6. I've even got a 7.3 on mine. But I'm still putting down pelletized lime. Wow. With mine to offset it so that I don't lose ground. So I could look at it and go, oh, my pH is good. I put all this synthetic fertilizer in, and next year I'm super low again, and now I got to play catch up with it. Whereas I'm trying to maintain it by putting in. I'm going with, I believe, 500 pounds of lime per acre on mine. Okay. Which isn't that expensive. The pelletized lime, I priced it out. It's $240 a ton. So at 500 pounds, it's costing me $60 an acre to put that down. That's 500 pounds worth. You go to the store and buy pelletized lime in a bag. It's like $5 now for a 40-pound bag. Right. Well, you're talking 12 bags at $5. It's still $60. I guess it's about the same, but we're going to mix it all together, and it's going to help us get a good even spread, and it's right there and now. So the big buggy, it just makes it so much easier to mix all of this together, and it's a one and done shot.
All right, so looking at mine then, what do I need to tell them, and what should I order? So I'm going to have to blend these. Obviously, I got the 2 hayfield ones that are like yours. They're better than that 3 acre one, but I'm only going to do 1 buggy. So what do you think? What do I need to tell them to put in an order for my buggy cart?
So how I did mine in that respect was I went to my recommendations page. Go to your recommendations page. Okay. So you're and we've got to take this with a grain of salt, because when we ask for corn at 100 bushel yield, they're telling you on your, I'm going at the hay in one, right? I'm looking at yours. Okay. And they told you need to add 85 pounds of nitrogen. Okay, well, you don't, because only a third of your field with that mix is corn. Okay. Now, I won't say that you want to go a third, but to some point, you don't need more than half of that.
Okay, so for those of you following along, just for clarification, what he is saying here, we're doing a custom mix on our 2 farms. It's going to be roughly 30% corn and 70% soybeans. So that's what he is getting at here, saying that you don't need the full 85 pounds per acre, if that's what that's asking for. We could literally do a third of that for the corn. So that's what he's getting at in this particular topic.
So, and your soybeans benefit from from a little bit of nitrogen to get up out of the ground, because the soybean has to get out of the ground and needs a little bit of time and needs to mature some and get a good root structure before it can start having nitrogen modules.
And we're doing a 30-70 mix, is that correct? 30.
We're doing basically a 30-70. I think it's like 28% on our corn, 72% on soybeans.
Okay.
So I'm looking on mine. They were telling me to go 145 pounds on nitrogen. I don't believe I need that much, especially after last year. Plus, I'm planning on doing a drone spray down the road, and I'm going to hit it with a little bit of liquid when I do that, liquid nitrogen.
Okay.
So I'm going with 50
Well,
pounds.
they're telling me, at least for a yield goal of 100 bushel, so they're saying 85 on the nitrogen.
Yeah, in my yield goal, I told them 150 on
Okay.
the corn. And so that's why mine's higher also.
That would put me at about 130-ish if I was at your, the 150 bushel per acre goal. So with that in mind, if I was at the 130-ish, what do you think I should order? Like 60, 80?
I'd go with 50. I'd go with 50.
Okay.
I would go with 50. It'll be a little bit higher. And, we also had a little bit lower pH. So the deal with pH is the lower your pH, the harder it is for the plant to uptake your fertilizer. So now you almost have to go up a little bit in your fertilizer rate because your pH is low to get the same reaction. So eventually it'll work itself out as we get that down. I would definitely do the same. Let's see, what did it say for lime? It's got you at 720. Mine actually asked for more lime than on average. So mine, I got 1080 on my high side. So on this recommendation, I
got 1082 on the high side.
Because we're mixing, I looked at the high side. So obviously for nitrogen, we didn't need anything for soybeans. That's pretty much, they're telling you don't need anything for soybeans because of this. But you do need a little bit for starter to get that plant going, because until it makes its own nitrogen, it needs nitrogen, right? So it'll jump up and canopy a little quicker by putting some nitrogen in, which will help us combat the predation from the or browsing from the deer. So that we need to put a little bit in there anyway. So we're just trying to split that average up. So I would look at yours that the same as mine on a couple of them. So I would put 500 pounds. Well, how many acres are you going to try to put in that buggy?
I'm going to try to get 20 acres.
Okay, so I'm basing mine on 10 acres. So I'm going to need almost 5 ton total fertilizer in my buggy, and they go 4, 6, 8 on the buggies. You may have to make 2 buggy runs. Okay, but I would still mix it all the same. I mean, we're not trying to make a living off of this, but we also want to be successful. We want to put in maximum effort because we're spending a lot of money in fuel and seed. We might as well spend a little more on the fertilizer and be right.
Well, let's get my numbers. I mean, granted, I got the 2 hay fields, which are better, but I'm going to mix it all in one buggy. So so I got 50 pounds of nitrogen.
Well, hang on. Let's start with the lime, because that was the first one on the amendment.
Okay.
You're going to want to put, because again, it's only going to cost you $60 an acre to put the pelletized lime on it and keep up with what you got. So I would go 500 pounds of lime.
Even though they're saying 720 and 1080?
Yeah, so the reason why, so they say 720, 1080, when you look at a soil report and they give you a recommendation of lime, that's based on to make it instantly better. And every farmer will tell you that you never try to put it on all at once because it can't react all at once. So it's 0.5 put some on now, and then look back next. So like big agriculture fields, they may get one that says you need to put down 6,000 pounds of lime. Let's just say every farmer will tell you don't put down more than 3,000 or 4,000 the first go round. Let's see how it reacts.
Right.
You know, maybe your soil doesn't need all that much to make it react. They're just guessing off of the pH, not off of the soil. I mean, they're experts, don't get me wrong, but let it have time to react, and usually it won't need as much on the balance. You know, so a lot of farmers will only go a third of it this year, let it sit a year, and then see what it goes, and then they might be able to put the other third on, and that's all they got to do to get there. They don't have to go the full, like 6,000 pounds. They can do 4,000 pounds
right.
by letting it have.
Yeah, and I remember that when we did our Illinois one, and I piggybacked off of you the same way. You know, do it half and half or even a third. So that's cool. So 500 pounds of lime, 50 pounds of nitrogen. So then
50 pounds of nitrogen. Now let's look at our phosphate. Now our phosphate is very important because we are 2/3 beans.
Okay.
So whatever the maximum is, I see 80 is a maximum.
Okay, yep.
You want 80 pounds.
Okay.
I'm putting 125 pounds on mine. My phosphate is a lot lower.
Well, remember, I'm at 100 bushel and you're at 150, so that 80 is really 120.
Well, hold on. So on my soybeans, I'm at 50 bushel. Oh, sorry, I dropped you on your head. I'm at 50 bushel on my beans. You're at 40. So I'm not just a little bit higher than you on the soybeans.
Okay.
So you're better off on your phosphate, but we're gonna do the high side of what we're doing. So
right.
I'm going 125 pounds of phosphate. Again, it's an immobile, so it's not going to wash away. I want it there. The phosphate is good. It's a yield booster, so it will really help bump up your yield. So that's what we want to do. So going a little high.
Well, okay. On your yield goal, was yours also 40 for the beans?
No, mine was 50 for beans.
50. Okay, so 10%. So I should probably go at least what, 90?
I would say. Let me double back to yours. I would say.
Because if it's another 25% higher from the 40 to the 50 on the beans, it could be even 100.
Yeah, and so, yeah, and it's not going to hurt much. You know, it may equal out next year. It's like, hey, you only need 20 pounds of phosphate, and so then you can do that. And phosphate is right now it's at $761 a ton. At 125 pounds, it's only costing me $47 an acre to put it on.
I'm thinking 100, then 100 for my phosphate.
Yeah, you could go 100. It's not going to hurt it. It's not going to hurt it at all, and it's going to stay there. If you don't use it, so let's say the plant doesn't use it, it'll be there for next year, and you can just get by with less next year.
Okay. All right, so if you're still here, thanks for geeking out on this stuff. This is going to be a 2-part mini-series, just for a number of reasons, because of view times and the algorithm and so forth, but I'm going to have it completed. It'll be up within a day, 2 days max, if not the same day. I'm hoping I'll post these the same day, but if you're here, you're still listening, you're obviously interested, part 2 will be up within, like 48 hours for sure, because there's a lot to take in here. So thanks a lot. If you enjoyed it, hit the like button, and I hope to catch you for part 2. Thanks.